G'day, welcome back. Today I'm continuing my series on chess software, which is mainly open source chess software, and we are going to look at the next category of chess software, which is very important when you are studying chess in a serious way, and that is an opening book creator. The software we are going to look at today is called a polyglot. Now, just a bit of background. So far, we've looked at a GUI for playing and looking at databases and so on. We've done Scid versus PC. I've loaded up the Stockfish engine to show you how to use an engine in the Scid versus PC GUI. And then we've also had a pretty detailed look at the endgame tablebase. Now, the endgame tablebase is a pre-calculated database of the position towards the end of the game where there's a limited number of pieces and play actually becomes godlike in terms of the computer works out the winning moves in those positions. At the moment, 7-piece table bases are available, and so we'll look at that in another video. Now, at the other end of the game, the start of the game, you have the opening books. Of course, there's a lot more pieces, but it's the same idea. You have pre-calculated databases of what moves are preferred in different opening positions. Now, these pre-calculated databases allow, if the computer is playing, for it to pick a move much more quickly without actually having to do the analysis of the position, but also draws on stored knowledge effectively in usually using existing games or having calculated lines beforehand and storing them in the opening book. So it's a pretty important component of computer play, but also if you are using the GUI to train and so on, you can follow the existing book lines and see which lines are most popular in the different positions which you look at. So that's what the opening book itself is. Now, Polyglot, the program we're going to look at today mainly, is an open source program that creates an opening book for you, which will end up being a .bin file. The way Polyglot works is you give it a list of games from a database in PGN, and you give it some criteria, some parameters, and it will go through the games. And the standard process is basically it just goes through the games, and if the move was played in a game, then it will put it in the opening book. But you can specify that only moves which are good, in inverted commas, go in the book, i.e. ones which have a good score in terms of the win-loss ratio. And also you can cap it. You want to make sure that enough games have been played for it to be included in the book, or you can stop your database at a certain sort of 10 moves or 15 moves, whatever you prefer. Once you've set it up, you link it into, in my case, Scid versus PC, so you can then use it in your training. Now, few ways of using it, actually. Maybe we won't get into too much today, but if you're training on an opening, then you would feed Polyglot a list of games in that opening, and it will come up with sort of an open book, and you can focus on it. If you're training against an opponent, it's the same thing. You just grab a list of their games, feed it to the bookmaker, and then effectively you'll be playing against that opponent, assuming he's not changing his book too dramatically. And then if you're just training generally, if you're playing against a computer which has a book, well, it's the common top lines. You'll basically get a higher quality of play than playing against a computer without an opening book. Right. Okay, so that's the general idea. And what we're going to do is go through the process of loading and building Polyglot and just quickly showing you how to build a book in it. Okay, so let's move across to my Linux box Windows Capture. And actually, the first thing I'm going to do is that bonus thing I mentioned. We're going to load up pgn-extract first. Now, the reason for that is even though I was getting a list of games out of the Casabase database and filtering it through Scid versus PC, people still put strange characters in the event. So they were not standard PGN characters, and Polyglot did not like it. Now, the thing about pgn-extract is it's very good software for just getting little niggly things out of the way and either dropping or modifying the PGN game files so that it can be processed in a more efficient manner. So you can see here, we're going to do the normal thing for cloning and downloading software from GitHub. Here is the pgn-extract Git repository, so we'll just copy that, and as usual, git clone, paste it in there, and that should download it and extract it. So it's very quick, that one, so we'll just go across to pgn-extract, and let us just give make a go and see if that's what's required. Compiling, not too many files, no errors, and there is .pgn-extract, so we'll just run it. Is there a help file there? Right, so that's it. It's got many parameters. pgn-extract. You can look at that later if you want. So that was very easy. And all we're going to do later is use pgn-extract to take our pgn file with some possible errors in it and create a pgn file with no errors in it, which can be fed into polyglot. So that's pgn-extract. You actually probably will use that quite a lot if you're trying to get databases from online and so on. There's always the possibility of a strange character or an illegal move in a game sequence, and pgn-extract is your buddy for fixing those issues. Right, so the next thing to do is to actually speed it up to clone the polyglot program. Now there's a few online. This one here, the OPL one, seems to be the most reliable on my system, so we'll just keep going that. That didn't work. Okay. Well, that was quick too. I mean, these aren't big programs. These are basically just close that. A bit of C code. So those files are very small, and I think for this one we'll just cd into it. There it is. I think we're supposed to do .configure first. .configure, and then if .configure works, then we do make, and same thing. It's obviously you've got some check here to make sure it's compiling sensibly. Once again, this is pretty damn quick. Some small warning there. Okay. And now we should have polyglot. Same thing. Polyglot. Not much help. And this is a bit easier for us, right? We can see that this is actually showing you all the options. We're not going to use them all. Polyglot makebook, very obvious. You give it a pgn input file. You give it an output file, which would be a .bin. And this is a few parameters. How many ply do you want your opening book to go? You'd probably at least want 10, but if you go to 20 or 25, then there'll probably be not many lines left. Minimum number of games is you only include that line if that number of games has been played up to that position. Minimum score. I have to check the scaling of that, but it's kind of, what's the win, draw, loss ratio, and I'll only include games lines which have that average score. And then you do only white, which gives you white choices, and only black, which gives you black choices. So you can either do it in one fell swoop, do a white book and the black book, depending upon different preferences, or you can do it all in one go. So that's the polyglot software all ready to go. So now we have to get the database which we want to use, the PGN, right? So what I was doing here is I'll just load up my Scid. Is that showing? Good. Right. What I wanted to do, I've done it a bit already, is let's look at the Italian game a little bit. So let's just go through the moves we want. I'll just do new game, save. And you'll notice here, I've actually already have an Italian bin, but let's just go here. And we're going to step through. Your Scid versus PC won't look quite like that, but this is interesting. I'll get onto this in a later video about what information is actually stored in the polyglot file, and we can sort of think about what it can be used for. So what it is showing you is E4 is the preferred move, and it will be chosen 46% of the time, and then E5 only 21%, 93, 93, 96, 84. Royal pairs is more played than the Italian game. And then you've either got two knights or Gucco piano. And then I don't want to look at D3 and the slow lines. What we're going to look at the piano, not the piano misso, and knight F6. So I think this is the stepping off point. I'm actually quite interested in d4, but so now I've got the position there. I want to do a search for all the games. I didn't load up Casabase. Let me load up Casabase. Okay, I've got my position back. Let me just try and make this screen fit a little bit better. Okay, so now I've got Casabase loaded. I've got the position. We go search, current board. And we'll just click search, goes through. Okay, and I've got 23,000 positions. That's good. And then now what I want to do is I want to tools, export all filter games, export filter to pgn. A lot of parameters there. Wants me to put a file. Okay, that's fine. I'll just put it in the polyglot directory and we'll call this Italian dot pgn. I'm not too sure if it's going to add the pgn or not, but let's do that. Exports games. Okay, so we'll just minimize that. And now we're in the polyglot directory and we should see the file italian.pgn. It's right there. And this is where I want to do the pgn-extract because before when I did this with polyglot, what actually there's people put slashes in the event, / in the event metadata. So just in case you come across that issue, pgn-extract will deal with that for you. So we have to put the following command in. I have to go down one level. And then it's italian.pgn. The input, and then the output will be clean.pgn. And let's see what it does. It whizzes through. Excellent. And if I have a look at directory, we should have a clean.pgn. Yeah, there it is. There you can see clean.pgn up there. And I was going to cat it, but that is the pgn file cleaned. And now that is what we can use to input into the polyglot bookmaker. So let's just make a very simple book from this. Polyglot's in this directory, so that's okay. Polyglot. And the make book, those parameters we looked at earlier. We're going to do pgn, be clean.pgn, and then it's going to go to an output bin, and we're going to call that, I've already used up etal, we'll just say it.bin for lack of another name, and then it runs. Locates data, 10,000 games, only 20,000 games, very quick. Right, okay, so now we should have an it.bin in this directory. There it is. Let's have a look at how big it is. Not very big. Now we need to copy it into the directory where Scid versus PC is expecting to see it. So I've got to copy it.bin, and we'll go one level, and then we'll go 2 levels. Sorry about this, I just put things in different places, and the bin. So it's the bin folder of Skid-Roo. I can actually go there now. Let me just click the terminal. And ls bin. Books, not bin. Okay, right, so that was a mistake. I'm going to copy bin to books / it.bin, right? Let's try that now. So let's fire up Scid again. Sure that's displaying well enough. I might make it a little bit smaller. If I can. Right, okay, good. So we're just going to go Windows, book window, and it.bin. Okay, sorry, I had to move the screen so it was more clear. So you can see we've got the 2 book option. So we can see the ELO 2400 one, which is provided with Scid versus PC, and IT, the one we have just created. So you can see how focused this new book is. It won't help you in other openings, but just follow through. Bishop c4, bishop c5, c3, knight f6. And then now having knight f6, that's where the search started. Now this database will give you a lot more lines to consider. We want to do the Greco lines. So it takes d4, bishop b4, check, knight c3, knight takes e4, castles, bishop takes c3, now the Moller attack. Treats the bishop, bishop f6, rook e1, knight e7. Now the more generic book cuts out now, but we didn't put any limitation on our book, so we will have a lot more lines going forwards. Rook e4, the only white move at this point, d6, and here is an interesting juncture, right? Most people play bishop g5, which is the old main line, which is what we all grew up learning. But now there's other interesting lines, g4, rook f4, which certainly deserve consideration. I want to look at them more closely, but we are not doing that today. So that was just all I wanted to say, a brief sort of overview of using a polyglot to build yourself a specific opening book. You could pick a favorite player. You could pick Fischer and follow his games, or Anand, those sorts of things. And as a little bonus, pgn-extract, a very useful software for getting kinks out of issues you may have with PGN files. Great. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that, and thank you very much for listening.